Johannesburg Pride will on Saturday mark its 30th anniversary. This year's event will also mark the debut of a new flag representing all 54 countries of the African continent. Now, the parade is aimed at fighting for the inclusion of the LGBTQI community in the continent. For more on this, I'm joined in studio by Kay Ali, who is a representative of Johannesburg Pride. Kay, thank you very much for your time. Talk to us first about the history of Joburg Pride.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Well, Johannesburg Pride has got a very rich history. The first Pride Parade took place in 1990 as part of a defiance campaign. So it was a combination of a political campaign as well as an LGBT activism, because the people that were involved in Johannesburg Pride at that time were a mixture of people of colour, hosting an event in Hillbrow, which fell under the Group Areas Act at that time. So I was a combination. I think it was very much a defiance campaign, you know. We're queer and we're here. And Pride has grown since then in terms of its ability. So we're no more walking with brown paper bags on our heads. But we are still marching for a lot of the same reasons. I think that there's still aspects and work that needs to be done from an LGBTQI perspective in Africa.
How much of that work still needs?
Tremendous amount of work. So you touched on something quite integral. Part of the Johannesburg Pride launch for its 30th anniversary, we created a symbol, which is a combination of the 54 flags of Africa. And we've also launched an initiative called the Pride of Africa, which is part of its advocacy is intentionally to grow and assist with growth or inceptionalization of Pride-like events in Africa. And because we wanted to do that as our advocacy, we then needed to look for a symbol that represented Africa. So it was a very clever way that we combined the African symbolizations within the flag to create our own symbol.
It'll be interesting to see what that flag is going to look like that represents all the 54 countries in Africa. But you still have major problems.
Correct.
In countries like Uganda. What's got to be done to change attitudes there?
We work with Melanie Nathan from an African Human Rights Coalition perspective to assist where we can in terms of financial aid, in terms of refugee or extractions from within the countries in Africa. I think we do need to leverage our government. Being such a liberal, constitutionally democratic government with a president that is that inclusive and accepting of all within the country, I think we need to take a leadership role on the continent from an LGBTQ perspective, and I think the African Union does need to recognize that there are some tremendous human rights violations on the African continent, specifically and in particularly within the against the LGBT community. I think Uganda is one of it, and I think I've been saying to a lot of people, you know, irrespective of how you look at Johannesburg Pride, whether you question, does it have a lot more advocacy, has it become more of a celebration? The fact that we can hold a Pride event in Africa that is 30 years old is a tremendous achievement on a continent where people are being persecuted based on sexual orientation and gender identity. So whether you agree with everything that Johannesburg Pride does, and it's all-encompassing, march for those that cannot march on the African continent. Be the voice of the LGBTI community, not just for yourself, not just in Johannesburg, but we are representing Africa.
Very quickly, Kelly.
Yes.
I can't let you go without telling me how many people are going to turn up and the kind of festivities they should expect.
So we have no idea. We rely on what happens on the day. It's a free event, so there's no barrier to entry, which also means that there's no entrance fee. We will be shutting down Rivonia Road from Santon Drive to 5th Street. It's the first time ever, from 12 o'clock to 10 o'clock.
In the evening?
Yes.
Wow.
It's a long day tomorrow for me.
All right. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
For the time to come and talk to us here.
Thank you for having me.